Hello and welcome to the Monkey Nut Punch podcast. And as you can see, we've had a ban on gingers. There's no gingers allowed on this podcast anymore. The ginger person has been removed, and from now on, we will be bird's eye free. Well, until he comes back. Hello, Keith.
Hello, mate. Ginger free. Oh dear. Yes. Yeah. No gingers allowed. We don't believe in was it Jalam? Ginger lives? Ginger lives matter?
No, we've removed. We didn't want him on in case we all caught gingivitis.
Gingivitis.
So let's talk about what we're talking about. So this week we'll be talking about the complete bloodbath that is what was DC Comics, and it's probably going to be DC Comics with an X because it's now sexy and trendy. We'll talk about that. We're going to be talking about Amber Heard and Ezra Miller. We'll be talking about Picard, and I'm sure Keith will interject something about Lower Decks. Then we'll be talking about Fortnite versus Apple. And then we will be talking about the Halo, followed by a review of Netflix's Project Powers, which was released on Friday. And we'll finish off with a what's going on here story. So let's start off with our first one, which is DC Comics, DC and DC Universe have been hit by major layoffs. Now, the comic book industry, how can I put it politely, have been, dicks, shall we say.
Fucked.
Yeah. They've been putting out stuff that's, how can I put it, crap. And they're getting, how can I put it, punished for it. So they've got, they had a load of layoffs over because AT&T have bought them, and AT&T have looked at them, turned around and gone, right, guys, unless you're making us money, we ain't fucking interested. Okay, so they've probably gone through the whole thing, worked out who was making money, who wasn't, and then they got rid of people. They got rid of what looks like pretty much their entire senior management team here. So we've got a guy called Bob Harris, Senior VP of Publishing Strategy and Support Services. Well, naturally not publishing properly, so he has to go. Hank, Kranaus, VP of Marketing and Creative Services. Well, marketing's going wrong. Jonah Wayland, VP of Global. Everyone's a fucking VP. VP of Global Publishing Initiatives and Digital Strategy. Strange that one went because you're kind of moving towards the digital area here with bits here. Bobby Chase, who's a senior story editor. The stories have been shit, so naturally off the trot. Brian Cunningham, who's an executive editor. Again, stories. Seems to be no quality control in this organization. Mark Doyle, who oversaw the rollout of the Black Label, which was the one I think that replaced Vertigo Comics, if I remember correctly. You're more comic book than me, so they've gone. And then you've got Jim Lee remains as CCO, which is a creative something officer. I'm sure it's something along those lines. So we've got that here, and we've got we've got that, and they've got to kind of sort their shit out because at the moment nobody's interested in comics, and it's strange that no one's interested in comics considering that the films for the last 10 years have been superhero movies. You'd think that comics would be quite high up on the old what do you call it, the old kind of thing for people to buy. AT&T as of 2019 were $26 billion in debt. Note that debt is different to running a deficit. Okay, so they're $26 billion in debt, and their job at the moment is probably to mitigate that payment of debt. Because if you're running a company, you could have debt in the company as long as it's not chewing in to the point that it's causing a deficit. It's like, I've got a credit card with a couple £100 on it. I'm fine. So if AT&T is worth X amount and they've got 26 billion, they should be able to sort themselves out. It's weird because AT&T should also be quite well off considering the whole pandemic and everyone's using the internet. So swings and roundabouts, shall we say?
I saw this coming, and it's going to happen at Marvel as well. Interestingly, the Safe Space and Snowflake comic never came out, never got released. It
Oh
is
no,
now
it's
coming out.
it's getting released. It's getting released.
It's getting released as a volume, but it was never released as the individual issues that we were supposed to get. And it kept getting delayed. Now it's going to be released some point later on in the year as a volume. But I mean, I think you've got a link to on the notes to everything.
I was going to show. I was going to show. I was going to show some of this stuff because when it comes to like quality control, this is what they put out recently. All right.
This is
right?
It's just it's woke bullshit.
It is. It's woke bullshit, and it's the worst kind of fucking woke bullshit, right? And the reason I describe it as the worst woke bullshit is because the person who drew this went, I want to draw a realistic female body type. I don't want to sound rude or anything, yeah? Fat birds tend to have big busts. Yeah? It's one of the advantages of being a larger lady is that you have a nice...
It's not even that. The thing is, the people that are taking over the comic book industry, as with all these other things, don't understand that the industry in that they have an agenda and that's all they care about. Wonder Woman is a fucking Amazonian woman. Amazonian women are tall, slender, and muscular. That's it, right? She's an Amazonian woman. She's an Amazonian woman. For fuck's sake, she is not some heifer. I'm sorry, I'm not fucking fat shaming because I can't fucking talk. But really, this right here, that image is why none of you fuckers have any jobs anymore.
Well, here you go. Look,
you went woke, you went broke.
Right, she's got that fucking awful Michael Burnham smug face. Yeah, that's Michael. We're going to call that the Michael Burnham smug face. No cleavage. Seriously, you've got bigger cleavage than she has. And fucking ripped jeans.
I know.
What the fuck? But here's the funny thing. It's what I find worrying is that they did. I opened up the wrong tab. I was supposed to open up another tab, but I'll pop into that here. So we've got the Wonder Woman thing. Absolutely fucking terrible. And then we've got. Do you remember this? Gotham High.
Oh yes. Yes, no, this was even worse.
I'll be honest with you. I don't think Gotham High is even worse. I think Gotham High made more sense than this because if they were going after an audience and they were going after the YA Twilight audience, you know, that sort of thing, that's more appealing.
You're doing them. I think you're insulting them.
That has more logic to them, but you don't need to use those characters. You can invent entirely new characters and put out a YA novel like that. Yeah, because having Alfred be gay and his boyfriend, where in Batman, Alfred was like ex-SAS. Yeah, I love the fact he's ex-SAS in Thingy, and in this he's gay with his lover.
I mean, but this is the problem with these people. They don't give a crap about the cat. They've got no creativity. They have no creativity. They have an agenda, and that is what this is all about. And it's come a cropper. And there, I mean, there's lots of YouTube channels out there. Nerderotic and Heel versus Babyface talk about this a lot. The comic book stores haven't done themselves any favors either. I know the beer bug hasn't helped, but this is I think this could be the end of the comic book industry as we know it, and these people have destroyed it. And it really makes me angry because, yes, as you mentioned, I used to collect quite a lot of comics. I don't so much out here, but I sort of just buy sort of like the graphic novels now. I recently got the Snowpiercer ones translated into English, and they're really good. But the picture of Wonder Woman perfectly sums this up. That you don't want to see a realistic body image. The people that read comics want to see a superhero, and superheroes don't look like that. And stop trying to say, oh, you're people who have body like that want to see people like themselves. No, they don't. Most people you ask, look at me. I don't want to see some fat heifer guy there being a superhero. I want to see a fucking superhero. And they tend to be of one type. And stop attacking people when they say that. Stop trying to cancel people because they say that. It's what I want to see. You're not giving me what I want to see, so I'm not going to buy it. And it turns out for DC and Marvel and all the others that it's come a cropper. That, you know, people are not buying these comics because you are not selling them what they want. You're more concerned with your agenda. Now you've all lost your job. And I usually feel sorry for people that have lost their jobs, but you guys deserved it. I'm sorry, but you did, because you let this happen. And you were arrogant enough to believe that these people would be on your agenda. Just because you cannot accept that certain events happened in the world, that the Orange Man got to become president of the United States, you have to impose that on everybody else and impose your views on everybody else. And people just don't give a shit. People really don't care.
I really don't know why they didn't come up with like an Orange Man version of the Red Skull, Orange Skull or something. Make him Dutch.
Yeah, stick a blonde wig on the Red Skull. Yeah.
I think actually no, it's a lie. I think they did do something like that right towards the beginning. Okay, so let's just look at some comments. Babster's watching. No, vote Teen
Traitor. Traitor. There is no.
Nigel will appreciate your sentiment.
He is my number two. He's number two, Kitty Stomper.
Yes. And then we've got Alex, who says DC Comics, more like PC Comics. Yep. He must be watching on his phone because he's only got more. I think Bam still caught that comment. And then he's turned around and said, "I've turned off Project Powers." We'll get to that later. The Wonder Woman picture that picture is
it sums
not
up.
wanted.
It sums it up.
I think that looks like a teenager's art project.
I mean, how did Marvel? You see, I'm waiting for this to happen at Marvel. And in actual fact, in fairness to these guys at DC, the people at Marvel probably deserved it more because, okay, yeah, you let that Wonder Woman picture come out and you did Gotham High and stuff, but fucking hell, Marvel with that Daniel, whatever his name is, and Safe Space and Snowflake. How did anybody think that was a good idea? How did anybody not shove him out the door the minute he walked in? Who employed that guy?
Yeah.
I mean, seriously.
I know.
I think the thing is, these people with these agendas are, I mean, I know that BLM has happened and that kind of, because it was beginning to come back to, saneness. And then BLM happened, and it kind of put it on the kill thing. But Disney are going to feel the pinch very soon. I mean, it is rumored that they are losing $30 million a day thanks to the beer bug. Somebody somewhere is going to say, hang on, we can't afford to have an agenda anymore. We've got to make entertainment for the masses. We've got to make stuff that everyone is going to go and see and fill up the cinemas or, pay online to see, depending on what happens to the year. But, I mean, there's rumors now that What's-His-Face is on the way out. He used to be the boss man. Still is the boss man, but,
Iger.
Iger is on the way out because the board is pissed at him because he made all these decisions. Apple looks like it's done a deal to offer CBS All Access for like next to no amount of money, and I think that's a last ditch attempt to get CBS All Access recognized. Trust me, it's not going to happen because it's all woke nonsense. And Star Trek certainly isn't going to be the stable that you thought it was because it's woke nonsense. And people don't want woke, no matter how hard this bubble of idiots in their fucking mansions in California, continue to think the rest of the world is exactly like that. It's not. And thanks to the beer bug, you cannot no longer afford to push this agenda. You can't afford it. And these people are going to start falling by the wayside. I think it won't be long before we see something similar happen at Marvel. I think we're going to see people's contracts run out and not re-employed. I'm really hoping that happens to both Kathleen Kennedy and Kurtzman, to name but a few. But this was a dot on the cards that so many people have seen coming, and yet these people still can't accept it. You know, when this happened, everybody was going, "Oh, it's because of the beard bug." No, it's not, because people buy digital comics, and if people really wanted to read these comics, they would have bought the digital versions and waited until the beard bug was over to buy the paperback version.
Yeah, that's probably because they would have bought it, read it, and then I want that in my collection, because it's more a collection thing. It's like the collection of when you watch these people on YouTube, they have just the walls of toys and shit behind them. And it's just show off they have a collection of bits. I think the worst one is a guy called Jeremy from The Quartering. You've ever seen his videos with, because he's just got, it looks like he's just got random crap. It's like like you've got Gary from Nerdrotic, and his stuff is all like organized, and he's got his Doctor Who figures all popped up, and he's got his Star Trek starships hanging from the ceiling, and so he's very organized, where he just looks like he's just throwing shit against the wall.
Yeah, but I mean, we all got our things. I mean, my wife won't let me spend loads of money. I have to sort of, on the odd occasion, you know, when she's not looking. My recent purchase was a Lego fucking Moonlander, which took me 4.5 days to build because I slowed it down, and I love it. It's in my display cabinet. But I've got like Spider-Man. I've got a mini brick Batman up there. I've collected, because the cinemas here, I'll give the cinemas here are quite cool when they're open. Especially when they've got like comic book movies on or geek movies, they give like these special popcorn heads with holders on. So I've got an Iron Man. I've got the only cool thing about Rise of Skywalker was the Red Stormtrooper. So I've got his helmet, and I've got an R2 and a BB-8 because my wife liked BB-8. But those are the only things I've got so far. But I'm adding to the collection. But I'm a collector. I mean, I've got lots of comics. I've got sort of boxes full of them. I've got some comics that are worth quite a bit of money. I've got the complete set of the anniversary of Amazing Spider-Man, all the variant covers, including the black and white one, which is worth money. So yes, I but you know, the comic industry as it stands is sadly dying. Yeah. And it has been destroyed by these people. So I'm not sorry that this happened, I'm afraid. I really am not. I'm just hoping that they can get somebody in that can look at all these stupid titles and basically do what Steve Jobs did to Apple when he came back in whenever it was, and just cut back all these fucking issues that are going down agenda routes and go back to your core. DC and Marvel, go back to your core and start writing decent stories. Get rid of the agenda, get rid of the politics out of it, and just make good stories that people can read and escape in. And trust me, you do that, people will start buying again. They will, because this is the time where you can really make money. You're in the entertainment industry. People are all in lockdowns.
I think they've missed their window. Their window was between Iron Man and Endgame, and I think it's gone.
I don't know. I think if they suddenly do what they did, instead of doing like the New 52 that they did, but do something similar where they just stop across the line, go and just go back to the core. Just, you know, chuck out a few issues of your core characters. Stop all the obscure sideline ones. You can bring those in. You know, you can have, you know, what's his face meet another one in the thing, but just have your core heroes with DC, Batman, Superman, Supergirl, that kind of thing. Just keep those core ones. Okay. Marvel, just go with the core things, you know, and the core series.
All right, let's move on. Amber Heard and Ezra Miller apparently are still on with their film contracts. They haven't been fired despite their behavior. I'll save it for the end. And they haven't been fired despite their behavior and things that they've done. I find it strange because if you look at like Ezra Miller, we've got where is it? We've got this here where he attacked a fan in Iceland, which is a little on the mad side. And then you've got what's the much Amber Heard, who fucked Johnny Depp's finger up.
Mhm.
Yeah, and she's in court at the moment in the UK, going through all of this shit. I do find it amazing that these people have not been reprimanded, and it's, how can I put it? When it comes to this sort of thing, I think that Warner Brothers are going to have a bit of a fallout. I think that maybe Warner Brothers, in handling this incident, have shit the bed.
I knew it was coming.
You knew it was coming because it's in the show notes.
Yes, but
it's the indicator.
I laughed when I saw
the end of the story.
I admit, I laughed when I saw it in the show notes. Ezra Miller is an odd guy. Let's just leave it at that. And I don't think he's particularly the greatest actor. I think actually, out of the current Justice League cut, he was probably one of the more interesting takes on the Flash. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't good, but it was one of the more interesting things about that particularly bad movie. And that's saying how bad that movie was, if his performance was one of the more interesting things in it. But Amber Heard is just fucking nuts, and a really nasty, crazy person who clearly needs help. Joking aside, who does the shit in your partner's bed? I mean, seriously.
Yeah, she blamed it on the dog too. That's the worst bit. I'll be honest with you, she must be absolute demon between the sheets. The only reason you'd be keeping her around. I can't think of any other reason.
I've been listening to a podcast. I listen to a podcast, and each week they've got a section on there. Is she hot enough that if she's shut in your bed, you wouldn't kick her out?
I still can't get over that. I really can't get over that. What? Nobody does that. You cut up his suits. Yeah? You throw his fucking watches into the toilet and flush the chain. You give away something. Don't take a massive dump on his bed. Every time I hear it, my brain just goes, what? No.
I'm just going to answer your wife, because she might also not realise. Tanith, he is also the Obscurial in the wizarding thing. The what's it? The
Magical creatures
thing. Magical creatures. He's the new Dumbledore as well. Ezra Miller plays him as well. That's who he is. He's still a freak. He turned up looking like a giant rubber Dalek to one premiere. And that's not any word of a lie. It looked like a cross between a rubber mastodon Dalek. It was kind of weird. But I'm trying to turn it off. You're turning it back on.
Yeah. He looked like a French tickler, if you know what a French tickler is.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, Ezra Miller has had this one thing, really. He's got one strike, except the fact he's odd, but you're allowed to be odd and eccentric. But Amber Heard, fuck's sake. I mean, I mean, I know there's things out there to stop her appearing in the next Aquaman and things like that. I wouldn't miss her from Aquaman, I have to admit. She's batshit.
Yeah, she's crazy.
I mean, don't get me wrong, Johnny Depp's always been a bit of an odd guy, but I mean, you listen to all this stuff coming out, and the fact that she accused Depp of these things, which is looking more and more like that is a load of bollocks or highly exaggerated, then yes, she should lose her career. She should be ostracized by these people, and the Me Too campaign. She should be definitely ostracized. Where are they coming out? Because if she's lied about all this,
they're hypocrites.
She's not.
It's designed to remove certain executives so JJ and his wife can take over. And I'm not joking when I say that.
Oh, God, fucking JJ Abrahams.
And shit, that's the worst bit.
Yeah.
If it was
Yeah,
someone like Steven fucking Spielberg or James Cameron, I wouldn't bother. But then again, they're too busy making and well, apart from James Cameron, but they were in their.
Oh no, he's busy. He's been making his Avatar films, and he still is making his. In fact, he actually posted a tweet the other day from the set. So he is actually filming on them, and they're actively working on them. He's just been actively working on them for fucking years.
Yeah, the best Avatar movie is the Flight of Passage in Disney World.
I know it doesn't call that ride. I'd love to go on that.
It's the best. It's one of the best rides in the park. It really is.
It looks awesome. I've seen it on YouTube. I would actually quite like to go and try out that new ride at the Star Wars thing, because that does purely. I'm interested in it on the technical level. I want to go and experience it.
I'll be honest with you.
And I'm looking, going, how the fuck are they doing that?
The technical bits, the carts are the same ones that they use in Ratatouille in Paris, which ironically is coming to Epcot, because it's a trackless cart system which uses magnetic things ever. And yes, it is the best ride. Anyway, let's move on, because got some interesting news, which I can completely believe. That reports say that Star Trek Picard saw a massive drop in viewership by its finale. I can go along with this completely. This report comes out from Giant Freaking Robot, who claimed that by the time that Et Arcadia Ego Part 2 aired, Star Trek Picard lost half its viewership in the United States. It lost 30% of its viewership in Canada. And I can completely believe that, because when we got to the halfway point, I kind of stopped watching it and just put it in fast forward and just unpaused it when something interesting happened.
It was an abomination, and seriously, at the end of it, fucking hippie droids living in a commune in California, again. The Californian bubble, on all young and fantastically beautiful people, and just, it wasn't Star Trek. It was Patrick Stewart pushing his fucking stupid agenda, and it was pants. It was so bad.
Do you want to hear something funny? Apparently, he doesn't want to come back.
Good. Please don't. I don't want another season of Picard. It was god awful. It ruined so much. It ruined the legacy of it. And it's a shame, because there were moments when seeing like Riker back on screen again was great, but they had to have him have this really bad story, and the daughter that was amazing and intelligent, but the son had to die. And oh god, it was awful. It was so bad. And I mean, it was worse than Discovery in many ways. And don't get me wrong, Discovery season 2 with its Klingon fucking Hogwarts.
With these time crystals. So where have these time crystals been in all the other Star Trek things? Did the Borg use time crystals in First Contact? Did when they were doing the slingshot maneuver around the sun to go faster than the speed of light without using a warp drive in the Voyage Home, were they using time crystals? No? Oh, okay.
And this is the thing that I hate about Kurtzman Trek. He's obsessed with Section 31. And actually, if you watch DS9, no one knows that Section 31 exists, let alone a lower decks ensign on a fucking backward, bloody, tiny, insignificant ship. Wouldn't even know what Section 31 is. It's a secret fucking super spy thing. God, these people are so stupid. And this was it. It was dumb. Part of the problem with Picard is it was really dumb. And really, seriously, I can't get over a fucking Romulan saying cheeky fecker.
With an Irish accent.
I can't get over that. The thing is that no matter what, we said this at the time about Picard, and the thing, Star Trek, the dialogue and the clothes they wore and all of that stuff, it was always, it didn't look modern. It looked not necessarily futuristic. It was like Star Trek: The Next Generation, and the thing was like the 80s idea of the future. and it was of its time, but it wasn't, if you know what I mean. You know, you look at Star Trek, the original series, you know it's the 60s, but it didn't quite, it was like the 60s idea of a utopian future. Star Trek DS9, Discovery, and Picard especially are just contemporary bullshit. They don't even bother changing the costumes to make them look different. It's all contemporary. The dialogue, the speech, it's all contemporary. It's written by normies for normies who don't understand Star Trek.
No, it's not even written for normies, because normies don't like this shit.
Yeah,
normies don't give a shit about this.
Yeah.
Star
I mean,
Trek,
I watch. I will concede something, which is rare for me, but I will concede that I think you're right about Lower Decks, that it is the most Star Trek thing that they have done. Because, yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I watched episode 2 and I needed a fucking brown paper bag to breathe into halfway through that show, because they talk so fast and so they are on some kind of fucking drug, the people that are acting it, because they're so hyper, they're so talking. I mean, they're all ADHD or fucking on something, because the characters are just. But the one thing I'll say about it is, at least the Klingon looked like a fucking Klingon. At least the Ferengi looked like a fucking Ferengi. But they love, you know that they're going, oh, we're going to drop in the member berries, and they, oh, how about you do the Janeway maneuver? Like, us fans are going to go, oh, we're appeased now. You know, oh, you've bought old Trek.
Can you remind me what the Janeway maneuver is? Is it getting yourself stranded on the other side of deep space?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Because the ensign, the purple-haired dude, mentions the section. Oh, that looks like a Section 31 uniform. How would you even know? You see, this is what I mean. We were saying this the other
gag. That's a gag, given the nature of the show.
It is a gag, but stop saying it, because it's going to piss off the fans. You can do a parody of Star Trek. You absolutely can. Watch Orville season 1. But Lower Decks could have been good. Lower Decks could have been good.
That in Babylon 5, they were supposed to have Bureau 13. Yeah. Yes. And Bureau 13 was supposed to be their version of Section 31. But they had to stop it for legal reasons. But considering that the guys who created Deep Space Nine had JMS's Babylon 5 Bible, I think they may have ripped up Section 31, Bureau 13 numbers switched around. I'm not saying...
Section 31 was a great idea. And a lot of Star Trek purists hate it and blah blah blah. You see, I've always been in the middle ground. That I always thought that Star Trek needed to be modernized and needed to appeal to a larger audience. And the first J.J. Abrams movie largely did that, and I still like that film. I know a lot of people don't, but I thought it did. It was good. The second movie just did not follow the quality of the first one. And tried to rip off the Khan story, and by that point it was too late for it. And so it's kind of like that thing. People then go back and hate the first movie. And actually, I went to see that film 7 times in the fucking cinema, and at the time I love it. And I watched it again recently, and I still think it's quite a good film. I think the central trio were extremely well cast. And it worked for me. And doing it in a different timeline, I thought was a good idea. But then it just went downhill, and it got infected by all this bullshit. And then we got Star Trek Discovery, and you know, instead of listening to the criticism of the first season, they doubled down on the stupid crap. And then we got Picard, which just was an abomination. It was. I mean, seriously, how can anybody... I mean, how... Patrick Stewart must be losing his marbles, because seriously, doing a dodgy French accent with a fucking beret and a stripy fucking shirt, talk about racial fucking... what's its face? Stereotype. It was so bad, it was insulting to Star Trek people. And Patrick Stewart has probably realized he's done himself no favors, and his fan base has done that. And it's just gone. Vroom. Here's the thing, right? A lot of people that are switching off from your woke bollocks probably agree with your politics. They just don't want it in their entertainment. You know, they just don't want. They want to be entertained. They want escapism. And all these shows that they're interjecting this crap into used to be escapist shows made for everyone. Doctor Who, Star Trek, Star Wars. They were all about entertainment. They were all about the spectacle. They were all about hope, hopeful futures and utopian stuff. All stuff which would be absolutely perfect right now. And yet what we're seeing is massive drops in viewing figures because they just don't get it. All these people deserve to lose their jobs. I'm sorry, but they do, because they're incompetent and arrogant, and they need to be taken down a huge amount of pegs. But I will concede to you that I still don't like Lower Decks, but it is the most Star Trek thing they've done.
Oh, good, because I believe that's the case. Okay, right. Let's move on to our next story, which is on what we had a little argument about yesterday, and it's epic showdown for Fortnite publisher as it versus Apple and Google. So it kind of goes like this. Yeah, you've got the Epic Store and the Google Play Store, and they have rules to it. Yeah. Now the rules are that if you sell anything through it, we take 30% because that covers hosting and all the shit that we've done for development and maintenance and all that stuff there, and we get a bit of a payday out of it too because it's our store. We want to own that kind of what's the word? Environment, I think. Ecosystem, I think, is the other one that they use. Now, the Epic Games, who are the publishers of Fortnite, put in a way of circumventing paying the stores, so you paid them directly, which infringed both Apple and Google's Play Stores and App Stores agreements alike. Basically, they're being fucking greedy, and I know they're being greedy because Fortnite generates about $2.5 million a day worldwide. Yeah, so they've got all that money coming from various sources, be it PC, PlayStation, Xbox, iOS, Android, etc. And they've made about $3 billion in profit as of 2018. So they're not shy of cash. It sounds like they just want all the money, which sounds incredibly greedy to me. I know that I know what your arguments are because I've heard them already. It sounds incredibly greedy from my perspective. You signed up to these places and you did it. Now, I think Google have got the better case than Apple because Google can turn around and say, look, stuff that goes to the Play Store is managed by us. We can guarantee that everything in the Play Store is up to our standard, blah, 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 etc. All right. But you have the option. Hang on. But you have the option to sideload in Fortnite via an APK. So if you put the APK up on your website, you can do it, but you have to take the security off. Plus, at the same time, you won't have any parental controls on top of it. We can't guarantee it won't be full of bugs. Can't guarantee it won't crash your phone. But you have that option as an adult. I appreciate that. Apple, on the other hand, say, no, you have to do it all our way, which is a bit dickish.
I agree with you that I don't think they have much of a case against Google. Because, as you said, you can load apps without using the Play Store. Android is an open platform. I agree with you that Epic Games are being greedy, but they blatantly geared up for this fight and they blatantly prepared for this fight. And they do have ulterior motives. They want to have their own app store. They want to have their own sort of Steam store so they can make even more money. They are greedy fuckers, but then so are Apple. And even more so now than they have ever been. And Shanghai people up for 30, and there's no choice.
Yeah, it is one of these things where if you're a smaller developer, it's probably worse off for you. If you're a big developer, then you kind of feel it a bit more. I think that I do genuinely think that Epic are being greedy. It's ironic because they talk about exclusive control of the App Store, but they have been shopping around picking up indie developments that have been publicly funded that were supposed to go through Steam and popping them on their Epic Store. So I think it's Phoenix Point, might have been Phoenix Point, but there've been games that people have funded via Kickstarter and Indiegogo, and Epic have picked it up and they turned around and gone, hey, you know what? We'll pay you some money. So where the agreement was to have it on Steam, and they were funding it, and it was going to go on Steam and whatnot, it's gone to there. So they're playing the same fucking game. They want a monopoly in the same way that Apple and whatnot have got a monopoly, and it's not fair. And have I lost Keith? Yes, he's derp faced out. So what we can claim from this is that I'm completely right. Keith completely agrees with everything I say when it comes to this. It was funny actually, because we found that Epic were ready for this with a shitty 1984 thing, because everyone's gone about 1984 because 1984 with Big Brother and everything were done, but the dipshit.
No, the 1984 thing is a direct attack on Apple because of the Apple II advert. Sorry. I think the stream is catching up with me. Sorry, I apologize.
Right. Okay. All right. Because the how can I put it? The 1980, because there's two things with 1984. There's the actual pointing at 1984, the story, and then there's the advert that they pulled off because they want to pull off the advert with Big Brother, and my son and his mate were getting messages about this. Via social media and other things, because his friend was big into Fortnite playing. So where is it? Yo, chow. So yeah, they put this video out. I'll play it, but I will keep the volume down. So there was an Apple advert, but they went against Microsoft in a similar fashion. And I don't like Fortnite as a game. I think Fortnite was trying to rip off Minecraft when it first came out, and then when they figured out that people were moving over to battle royale games, they did the same thing there and decided to rip them off. It's a bit too. I describe it as a kiddie trap, because it looks like they want to get your kids inside the ecosystem of playing money, and if they're spending cash without restrictions or monitoring, it's not a good thing. And I'm kind of against that, full stop. And they were ready for this, and they started this fucking fight intentionally. And I'll be honest with you, I want them both to lose. But if I had to pick one side, I'd want Fortnite, the Epic people, to lose first.
I completely agree with you on everything you said about Epic Games. That is a kiddie trap. They intentionally use bright colors. There's a lot of sort of psychology around this. If you go into the psychology of it, they know exactly what they're doing, and they are immoral. And I do not like Epic Games. I want to see them, but everybody's always accused me of being an Apple fanboy. I like the Apple OS. It's the only reason I stay there. And I'm liking it less and less, but I still despise Windows 10 even more. So that's why I stick with Apple stuff, and I'm a lazy bugger. But Apple more and more in recent years have been becoming more and more Big Brother. And although I don't like Epic Games, it is rather ironical that they became the very people that they put that advert out to make look bad. And I think it was IBM at the time that they were attacking, or IBM and Microsoft. But they are now the Big Brother, and I want to see them lose. And I don't know if I want to see Epic lose more than Apple, because I think it's about time Apple got a real bloody nose. But you're right, completely. They geared up for this. This was all intentional. They had written up the papers and law papers weeks ago. They had created this advert, a while back. You don't just make that in a couple of hours. And then they did what they did, and they knew what Apple were going to do. I completely understand your perspective on the fact that Apple has a contract out there and blah blah blah. But Apple has a monopoly, and it's about time that this monopoly was challenged. I just wish it wasn't Epic Games doing it, but they do have the money to do it. So it's a really difficult one, because I really understand your point of view. I have a bit of anger towards Apple as well, for different reasons. but actually, if I had to come down to a choice, I think you'll probably be right. I think Epic Games is probably the more immoral of them. So yeah, I see your perspective on it. I do. I do.
It's the selling the microtransactions to kiddies I don't like, especially when we go through the stories of the kid who gets hold of the thing. I know probably EA is probably the worst for these transactions, but the same. I the same with the transactions. These things should be earned. It should be like when you play. Remember I played Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, and you get the banners because you killed 100 people with headshots with a foul, and then you got a banner to say you killed 100 people with a handgun, and then you'd unlock certain things and skins and get the golden guns because you leveled the guns up all the way. Earned stuff is fine, but it's just the way that they seem to be just squeezing these kids, and it doesn't seem to offer as a game. It doesn't offer much, as I see. It's like I like my story games. I've been playing completed the Uncharted games recently. Played Tomb Raider, completed that. Carrion, which is fantastic. And this game seems really shallow, really, really shallow.
No, it is. It is.
And you can see that they've kind of ripped off Minecraft and all these other things here and there. But yeah, it is an interesting one. We've got a comment from.
Yes, I want to answer that.
Go on.
Yes, I do think they use psychology, but I think it's particularly bad when they go after kids. And I think there's a lot more. You see, before my mum died, she was getting into a lot about screen addictions and things like that. And there's a lot of stuff out there to show bright colors and things help to get kids hooked. And yes, look, if we're going to bring up this subject, we can talk about the sweet companies and all the things in the supermarkets that put the bright colored sweets by the checkout thing.
Is the worst.
Yes, and stuff. So yes, I do think they're as bad as each other, but I think Epic Games is particularly bad because they know all of this. And they are using microtransactions and they are conning kids out of the thing. Because at least when a kid goes to a supermarket, there is a certain amount of parental control in place. And the same with McDonald's. With this thing, there isn't. There is no parental control, really. And
unsupervised parental control. I think there is a level of parental control because I've got. I was meant to help Nigel set this up for his kids. I've got my son on the PlayStation, and I've got him set up on my Xbox too, and I've got controls in place to make sure that he doesn't see certain things, and he doesn't do it. Just go back to this. Hang on. I'll finish this one here. Bedroom programming is back. It is back. All those brilliant indie games that have been coming out. That's the evolution of bedroom programming. It's like all those cool bands they had in the 90s that just came out of nowhere because they were indies. They were cool. Yeah, it is down to the parents. That's because a child's not an adult.
I think you're right, but I'm not doing this a lot of justice. But the bright colors are a way of getting kids hooked, and there is a lot of stuff evidence out there that the kids are addicted to this. And yeah, okay, McDonald's sweets, we're going to, but this is the new McDonald's, if you like. This is the new thing. Kids are addicted to it, and they know it. Yeah, okay, kids don't have money. Well, yes, no, kids don't have money, but parents seem to spend a lot more money on kids these days. But then you have to look at parental things, and that's a whole different bloody argument. But yes, you're right, Babster. I do agree with what you're saying, but I find Epic Games immoral because, regardless of other companies doing the same thing, they know what they're doing. They know what they're doing.
When it comes to kids having cash, it's the more the fact that they're on the parents' account with access to their credit cards. We've read quite a few horror stories, at least 5 big horror stories over the years, where kids spent 30 grand. There was one that spent 200 grand recently.
And kids stealing credit cards to do this thing because of an addiction.
And then there's peer pressure too, because you get the standard joke. Your character is standard. It was like that with us for trainers. Do you remember the thing with kids with trainers? Yeah, where it was like everyone had to have like the Nike Air, blah blah blah, all that nonsense, and it's just crap.
Oh yeah, I mean, but again, that wasn't addicting. The thing, sweets and
No,
McDonald's, contain stuff that.
I'm just doing that because I've just given an example of the way the kids put peer pressure onto, because it's a multi-factor thing. It's not a single thing that's causing this. It's multiple things that's causing this.
Yeah, no, I agree. Did you see this? The Spectrum, they're bringing it back, aren't they? They're bringing which one is it? Which one is it, Babs? So there was a one this week. The Kickstarter campaign made all the money. Is it Spectrum Next?
Next.
Yes. Sorry. Yeah. NX or Next. I know there's a Spectrum coming back. It did its kickback. It raced through its Kickstarter campaign.
ZX Spectrum Next.
ZX Spectrum, that was it. You see, I'm still an Amstrad man. I had an Amstrad as a kid where you had to put the fucking tapes in the keyboard, and sit there for half an hour waiting for the fucking dizzy to load. But I love the Amstrad. Yeah. I still do. I still have affection for that thing.
Microsoft has some great DirectX tools for starting programming, and then there's other things. Me and Nigel were going to make an RPG game at one point, but we never got around to it because it's a lot of work. Okay, so let's move on to the next story. And this is one involving the beloved MasterChef. They are delaying Halo.
Shock horror.
Halo after that release where everyone went, "The is that?" I think most of it comes down to lighting and animation. Because I think if you like something well, and I know this because I've been playing the Uncharted games, and you can see where things get lit better as you go through the game, and they look fantastic. There's one level in Nepal in the second game, which is fantastic, and then there's another one in Syria, but the Syria one's lit better, and it looks fantastic just because the lighting's better on it. But this is a good thing.
Yes. I mean, it is a good thing, but the excuse they used, I think, is bollocks. I don't think it's the beer bug that's delayed it quite as much as they're making out. I think it is the backlash from people saying it looks shit is why they've delayed it. And look, fair enough, they've delayed it. They're going to fix it, but be honest about it. Do what the Sonic Hedgehog guy did. I keep going back to that because it did him a lot of favors, being honest. Be honest about it. I don't think it is the beer bug. We know that the game looks shit. We know you're panicking and going back and updating it and making it look better. Be honest about it. People will be far more receptive to that than they have, because there's been a lot of people bitching about it, saying, "Oh, I can't believe it's not going to be ready." Fucking beer bug. And it's like, it's bullshit. It's not the beer bug. It's because everybody bitched about it. And be honest. I don't understand. I don't understand why they're not being honest about it. You know, as I said, the Sonic guy got nothing but love.
Call it. Maybe it's more of admitting that there's a problem.
Well, there clearly is.
Yes, there clearly is a problem. Okay, let's move on to a review bit. I'm gonna have a nose at the Spectrum Master Chief.
There.
I'm gonna have to see. I bet you someone has done a Master Chief meets Master Chief Sonic the Hedgehog hybrid. I'm gonna have a quick nose for that. So Netflix released Project Powers this Friday. I watched it and thought it was okay. It felt like the pilot for a TV show more than it did a finished film. I think Bright, which they did with Will Smith, was a much more rounded film. I won't say it as a piece of work, but this felt like it was the pilot for a TV show. Now, when you watch a pilot for a TV show and they haven't quite worked all the kinks out and they haven't quite got the characters right, the dialogue's not quite there because the writers have been writing away from the actors, so they can't fine tune that dialogue. It felt more like that. It was a good. I thought it was a good watch, not a great watch. Don't think it would have worked in cinema at all.
No.
But given the current situation, it might make it to the cinema because they've got nothing to show apart from Tenet.
I thought the bad guys were seriously lacking and didn't really have a coherent really motive, and they were just sort of like secondary to Jamie Foxx and Justin Gordon-Levitt. I thought Justin Gordon-Levitt and Jamie Foxx were really good in the film. I enjoyed them. I thought the concepts were interesting. I think the execution wasn't amazing. I agree with pretty much what you said. I think you summed it up better than I could have in the fact that it felt like a pilot episode for something.
Just to point something out. Babster brought this up, and I forgot to put this in. There's the wrapping subplot. I've put it in the show notes, but I didn't read it out. Scissors. The editor should have just taken a pair of bloody scissors to it. And I was talking to Keith about this before we started, and I felt where Jamie Lee Fox had the conversation. I can't remember his name now. The character Jamie Lee Fox was playing had the conversation with her, and he said about he joined the army to become kind of, to gain control and everything and fight the system and whatnot. Yeah. I was hoping that it was going to end up with her walking into army recruitment or Marines recruitment at the end.
Yeah.
I would have preferred it if you walked into the Marines and recruitment to turn around, guys, I'm going to be better than you. I'm going to join the fucking Marines. But that wrapping part of it did turn me off. I think I fast forwarded through it because it was cringeworthy.
It was pointless.
And the other part of it too was I felt that she must have upset the DP at one point, because there's a bit where she's in the veterinary lab and the way she's lit, makes her look like a fucking Jabba the Hutt, which isn't good. So there was some moments in that. I think we could have just explored the origins more. It was an interesting story done generically in places, and I think, as you said, some TV pilot. I understand why Babster switched it off. Although you said Will Smith, there was some just going off subject slightly. There was some interesting news this week. Do you remember about a year ago, a bloke released a 2-minute YouTube video of a trailer to a remake of Fresh Prince, but done in a gritty drama style? It was everywhere about a year ago. It was quite interesting. Well, it looked good. It looked interesting. It sounds stupid, but it isn't. If you actually watch the video was really well executed and quite interesting. Well, Will Smith. There was another video after this where Will Smith meets the creator, and it was another 10 minutes of Will Smith just saying, "Hi, I'm Will Smith. How great I am," and meeting this director. But this week he has announced that he is producing a version of a remake of Fresh Prince, but in the vein of this 2-minute video, and I think it could be quite interesting. I think it could be good. I enjoyed the 2-minute video. I thought it was an interesting take on it. I don't want to watch a gritty version of fucking Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I'm sorry. And you haven't noticed on the screen, Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yes,
Chief.
Sonic the I know you're joking, but he found it. See, we don't need Nigel. We just get Nigel on it, but you found it much quicker.
Yeah, not as good as pictures of the other one.
Of course he existed. Of course he existed.
Yes, of course he existed.
But yes, no. I mean, I didn't feel shortchanged. I didn't come away thinking, "Oh, I'll never get that 2 hours back of my life." But by the way, what the fuck was Casey Neistat doing in this film? I know he's mates with the 2 writers of this film. That's how he got into it. But really,
I don't want Casey Neistat to be famous. He's fuck ugly. Casey Neistat is the best he'll ever look, and he looks fuck ugly. Yeah, you look at some people and you go, you could lose a bit of weight, maybe get a bit of surgery. Casey Neistat's fucked. He looks like a rubber mask being inhabited by a person.
What's the word for me? He's a bit fluffy. No, he's not. He's a bit. I don't know. He never sticks at anything. And if you watch his YouTube channel, you get that. He never. When things get really difficult, he just runs away. He's never, he's moved out of New York and everything and moved his family halfway across the world. And by the looks of it, his family aren't very happy about it. I don't. Some of his reviews are interesting. When he does a technical review, I quite like some of the stuff he talks about because he talks about stuff I want to know about. But I wouldn't watch any of his other content. I find his other content just awful, and really he can't act.
I tried to watch some of his stuff, but no, he's not. But as I said, He's fuck ugly. I'm sorry. He looks he could play the Green Goblin without
Yes, that's
makeup.
true. We
Green him up.
can't act. We can play the Green Goblin without makeup. That's evil.
Casey Neistat. That's what I mean. Like he's like a human wearing a mask. He's richer than me. I can take the piss out of him. All right.
Oh God, he's loaded. I mean, you can't deny. But seriously, he bought a Tesla. Who buys a fucking car with a white interior? And I'm talking white leather interior. Who does that? It's not practical in any fucking way. It's look at me, I'm a showy person. That's all it is. You cannot have a pure white fucking interior in a car. And he's got 2 young daughters. So don't fucking tell me that it isn't being bought to showy and no, because seriously, you got 2 young kids. Your white interior is going to last about 5 seconds. I mean, I don't have kids, but I have a dog.
The only people who buy white interiors are oil sheiks.
Yeah, I mean,
seriously, the only people I can everyone's like always like kind of black or like kind of brown, maybe cream at a push, but not bright white.
I watched this video where he was driving to meet his son because he had this son. I don't even know. It came on and I wasn't really paying much attention, and I just saw him in this Tesla, and immediately I went, "Who the fuck buys?" I mean, you pay a lot of money for Teslas. Who spends that much of your money on a car with a fucking white interior, especially when you've got 2 young kids? He then does a 500-mile drive in his car, right? And he obviously have to stop halfway through and go to one of those Tesla fucking fast drives day. And he's sitting there on the video pumping his guns. I'm just thinking, you prick. He's sitting there going, yeah, I'm amazing. Look at me with my fucking 50 fucking grand Tesla with its white and fucking interior. Seriously. Bugged the shit out of me, really did. I think it says everything about the character of a person if you buy a fucking Tesla with a white interior.
Yeah, true. But getting back to Project Powers, there were some good bits in it. The way they talked about how each person had like a set, so people had like it was kind of a bit X-Men-ish in that regards, where it's like he had pistol shrimp power.
Yeah, but you, I mean, can you clear something up for me? Because at first I thought you take the pill and you don't know what power you're going to get. It doesn't matter, I thought at the beginning, the way they were talking, you get a different power every pill you take. You just don't know what power you're going to get. But it sort of like later on in the film, they knew what powers they get. So when doesn't matter what pill you take, you only get one power. And that power, so if you take the pill again, you get the same power again and again and again, and it depends on the person.
As I said, I think it's like the X-Men. So your genetic makeup denotes what power you get.
Right. Yeah. That okay. Fair enough. Because obviously he knew he was going to get this squiddy power, and Justin Gordon-Levitt gets to be bulletproof.
Yes. Which
was quite cool. Yeah, I thought again. See, I didn't even feel any emotion when the woman got it at the end. The evil bitch got it at the end, and a good bad person gives you an emotion.
I was hoping they were going to kill Casey Neistat. I'll be honest with you.
Well, he did get it, didn't he? I thought he died.
He got it, but he didn't get it in a satisfactory way. He wasn't like he was made to melt. That one guy took it. He hulked out, didn't he, when he took his one?
Yes.
But
I did like the fact that
you could see that he'd hulked out previously because his skin was loose around his neck. He had that vagina neck that Fat Bastard from Austin Powers had.
Yes.
Because I was wondering why his neck was like that. I was thinking, is it burn? And then it was like when he hulked out like he did, it was like, oh, I'll get it. That makes sense now.
I did find it when they blew him up and you just see the fucking great big hand that he had come flying out. I thought that was quite funny. That was quite good. There was things to like about it. I just think it could have been better done. But your sum up of a pilot TV episode was probably not wrong.
I didn't have that many fucking notes on it. I'll be honest with you. As I said, I think I preferred Bright over that. I think because Will Smith kind of made that, and I can't remember. I always call him Naomi Recompense. This is All right, so hang on a second. Didn't hang on a second. Well, do that. Do you want to do that while I just get this ready? Because if you become,
I mean, honestly, Babster, even if you don't have kids or a dog, I couldn't keep a white interior clean, especially in a country like this. I mean, in the UK, you couldn't. You get mucky in a second. There's no. It's just impractical. And the thing is, it's why I never buy white trainers, because they get scuffed up in 5 seconds flat, and it bugs the shit out of me. It offends my OCD-ness, and I can't do white trainers. So, but I think white interior, they look cool. Don't get me wrong, but I think white trainers look cool. But they're completely fucking impractical because they get dirty in about 5 seconds flat. So, yes. It bugs me.
Okay, all right. Now it's time for a what the fuck story, and it involves Nigel. He's not here to defend himself, so I'm going to take the piss out of him. Apparently, naked sunbather chases wild boar through park after it steals his laptop bag. An amusing photographer from Germany shows a man running after an animal to try and claim his plastic bag back as people in the park watch on and laugh. Sorry, Nigel, I didn't mean to expose you in such rate. A naked sunbather was seen chasing a wild boar through a park after it stole his laptop bag, accusing Amusing photographs from Germany show a man running after the animal to try and claim a plastic bag back. It's just bloody read that already. Cheeky boar and its 2 piglets appeared to be too quick for the sunbather who can't keep up with their speedy little trotters.
Yes, he ran through. I mean, it's fair to say there were other nudists there, as you can see there. There's a guy sitting there with no kit on. It was a nudist area. He wasn't just like randomly naked. I think there's a video of it, and you see other people in their birthday suits, but it was quite amusing.
What's the German for Fenton? Remember that was fucking ages ago.
Of course, it's in Richmond Park.
That was Richmond Park. Fenton!
Fenton! Bloody hell. It was brilliant.
I'm gonna have to now find. That's probably got a couple, like 20 million views on that one.
Fenton's brilliant.
It was. That's what that
I know where. I know where that is as well. It's a particular area in Richmond Park.
I know that.
Yes,
and I know that those bloody deer are a pain in the arse there too.
Yes. Yeah.
Just for our amusement and to get, because we haven't had a copyright strike in a good couple of months. Let's play the fencing clip, shall we?
Oh, good.
Let's stop screen this. I need to share the sound. Brave, share sound. Fencing. There we go. So everyone can hear it. Just to end on.
Now, until this week, few people had heard to call for amid all of the afternoon, the very picture of tranquility. But all is not what it seems. It's been the internet sensation.
Yes, along with what's a mush. What was her name? She was described as. So what you're saying? I'm not saying that. I'm saying this. I said this. That's what I was saying.
Oh, the Channel 4 news person. She's god awful. She's woke as fuck. I can't stand her.
I don't think she's woke. I think she's.
I know she has an agenda, but yeah, she's not particularly bright. But yes, no, the Fenton thing is brilliant. It's not. We had a dog that did something similar, but he was called Toby. not quite as posh as Fenton. And the only reason he was named after Toby was after Toby and Thomas the Tank Engine. Yeah. I got him when I was very young.
Okay. So thanks for watching. And
yes.
Goodbye.
We'll be back next week. Bye-bye.
Nigel's going to be really unhappy that I shared that story with him.